Welcome back. As we continue off with the conversations, access to information has been recognized and guaranteed as a fundamental human right in various international, regional and national instruments. Now, hence, the Namibian government has introduced a television program called the Government Information Center, GIC. The center discusses various government programs on Mondays, Wednesdays and Thursday. Now, the GIC is closed for the festive period and is set to resume next year, February. With more on the progress of the center, I'm now joined telephonically by the Executive Director in the Ministry of Information Communications and Technology, Dr. Audrey Mate. Good morning, Dr. Mate, and welcome to the show.
Good morning. I'm actually on Zoom. Thank you.
Oh, on Zoom. Very good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you. Good morning.
All right. Now, Dr. Mate, before we start off with the Government Information Center, the President has expressed interest in working with you. How do you feel about this?
Yeah. I'm not so sure that he expressed interest in working with me, but I know what you're talking about. There's some articles that ran maybe 2 days ago in the media regarding my relationship with him, having worked with him before. Indeed, that's true. I think sometime in the early 2000s, I used to be his spokesperson. So I worked with him very closely. So the question really centered around how he is as a person working with him. So I was responding to that to say that it was indeed a living experience having to work with the Prime Minister at the age which I was at. I think I was probably 23, 24, maybe 25, somewhere there. So it was interesting. A colleague of mine, former colleague of mine, Commissioner Jarongoro, was reminding me yesterday how sometime in 2000, because of inexperience really, I'd sneaked out of town, not having to declare that I was going. So I went to Swakopmund. I think it was on a Saturday. It was on a Friday. So Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, Commissioner Jarangoro, then he calls me to say the Prime Minister is looking for me. And I had not declared that I was out of town. So he said we need to meet at 11 o'clock. So I drove from Swakopmund at 9 o'clock. Really crazy. I think maybe 11:30 I was in town. I think somewhere in between, Prime Minister again got to realize that I was actually out of town. So he asked him, how did you get here? I said, look, I drove this morning. He said,
Right.
Comparing the time that he was looking for me and the time I was in Windhoek, it was easy. So he was really not very happy to say, you should have told me that you were out of town. I could have let you, but next time you must report yourself. That's really how it was. There was a lot of funny moments, but also really having a lot to learn from those of us who were young back then, having come into a political office without any political experience of some sort. So that's what it was.
All right. Now, Doctor, onto the matters of the day. Now, there is a general consensus that access to information is indispensable for a functional democracy. Is this the sentiments of the government?
Indeed. As you know, government has put in place measures to ensure that access to information is a reality. Just recently, Parliament passed Access to Information Bill, which now is awaiting the assent of the president, then it becomes law. Over the years, we've seen how Namibia has performed in terms of how it's ranked number one. Obviously, we were toppled for 1 year by not Senegal, Seychelles and Ghana at some point, but we are where we need to be. We not just strive to be the top in Africa, we strive to be the best in the world because we are far better than those countries that are so-called first world countries. We rank a lot higher than them. So this speaks to how Namibia is rated globally in terms of freedom of information. Access to information, obviously, is a new phenomenon for us now. So we're doing our level best. To that end, also, you've seen how government has been communicating using Government Information Center. That started really at the beginning of the pandemic, where there was a necessity for us to ensure that the citizens they are fully informed about what was happening. A result of that is that after the pandemic ended, there was that strong appetite to continue communicating the manner in which we did. That's why you've seen that the Government Information Center has continued to operate on that basis, where we don't just communicate about COVID-related issues, but also generally about government activities, government programs, to explain government policies, to communicate messages an average person under normal circumstances would have gotten through mediated communication. Right now, we communicate directly to the people of Namibia. I think that's going to change for the better in the coming year.
All right. Now, the ministry also adapted its own customer service charter, which provides specific service delivery targets. How has the charter helped improve the customer service in the country?
You know, the customer service charter is an initiative of the public service driven by the Office of the Prime Minister. Our ministry launched its own charter in 2016, and we are at the moment finalizing and reviewing it to align it to the latest adopted framework by the Office of the Prime Minister. The Office of the Prime Minister, is a custodian of the charter, undertook a recent study to establish at which level MICT has implemented the initiative, and also to determine the required interventions from the Office of the Prime Minister. The idea behind this is really to map a way in which public servants must respond to the electors, the people of Namibia. It guides us in terms of how it is that we ought to do to treat our servants, to ensure that we serve the people of Namibia in terms of established rules. That is why this initiative was launched. I'm happy to tell you now that the Minister of Information and Communication Technology have recently been rated, scored 66%, excuse me, in terms of how it has implemented the charter. We're very happy with that. Obviously, there are still other issues to be done, including the fact that we need to incorporate the charter in the performance agreements of the committee members and also managers. This is important because we have to respond internally how this is, by way of agreement, how this is going to be done. And from the next financial year, we are going to ensure that every employee of supervisory responsibility, they are going to have this written into the performance agreement.
All right.
Also, we're looking at strengthening both the sustainability and implementation of this and make budgetary provision, because it's important that we make money available for it so that it becomes a reality and fully implemented.
All right. Now, early in the year, the Ministry of Information, Communication and Technology launched the Government Information Center with the aim of disseminating information to the public. Has GIC lived up to its aims and expectations?
It has. As I mentioned 2 questions back, we continue to broadcast messages on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, every day of the week, to ensure that not only do we explain what government is doing, but also we have an interactive mechanism where the people, the listeners, the viewers actually phone in and ask specific questions about what they need to know about the subject and the discussion. And we have government officials who are ready to answer those questions, and it has served its purpose. One critical element is that government of Namibia is doing a lot of things countrywide, but in some cases, some of those activities, they're not being talked about. Hence the idea that we are going to be communicating directly to the people so they know exactly at what point government programs are running, so that you can preempt the questions to say, why is this not happening? And we do get questions like that. It's not that they're not happening. It's only that you're not explaining them. Hence the initiative to continue running the GIC in the current manner.
All right. Now, you're closed for the festive season and the center is set to continue next year, Feb. What new changes can the public look forward to?
One of the things that is going to be happening next year is the fact that Cabinet has adopted a government communication strategy. This will be implemented as from the 1st of April. Part of what is going to be happening is that there's going to be an obligation on all OMAs to ensure that they actually communicate to the people of Namibia. This will happen along the lines of cluster committees mirrored through the arrangement of cabinet structure. So we have a social committee, maybe including the Minister of Health, including the Minister of Youth and Sport, Minister of Education and Health, and so forth. So they will be communicating on a particular day what it is government has been doing. That filters out to the ministries, agencies, and offices. At the same time, the MBC has a program called the Public Service Corner. That will be making appearances every week to ensure that government officials appear on these programs to explain what government is doing. That will also include regional councils so that we understand what it is that is happening in the regions. That way, you have a better informed citizenry. When people are informed, they can better make decisions that are based along the lines of being informed.
All right. Now, the Nationhood and Nation Pride campaigns aim to instill a sense of nationhood and nation pride in Namibian citizens. Now, one might ask, what is it that Namibians should be proud of?
First of all, we have to be proud of the fact that we are free and independent. The struggle has been long. Many people did not survive to see the fruit of the sacrifices. That is one. Second is that as a country, we have national symbols that binds us in unity of purpose. For that, we have to also recognize the diversity of our country. There are many groups, different races. So the idea is to find a common identity that binds us. If you get to a country like Ghana, by looking at how they dress, you can immediately identify this person is a Ghanaian. By looking at the Nigerians, so this is we need to start somewhere to find a common identity for all of us, to be proud, to be loyal to our country. This for many of us, this is the only country that we have. If you're not loyal to it, then who are we loyal to? I think that's where we need to do that. So this will take different forms. One is to create an identity through a national song. That if you look at the World Cup now, nations that are participating there, when the countries play, they have some kind of identity that to say the Argentinians, this is their song, this is their dance, this is how they identify themselves. So we're getting there. Also, if you look at the school level, there's some discussions with the Minister of Justice and the Minister of Education to create a national pledge of loyalty. So, for example, in America, they have a pledge of loyalty to the country. So this is issues that we're looking at now to incorporate in, that they become part of our physique, part of our identity as a country. That if you come to Namibia, this is what Namibia looks like. So you can easily be identified by that. For example, we're also contemplating getting a national dress to be pride of national colors, that on a particular day, then you should be able to wear national colors, even if it means you're going to work with a T-shirt with the branded Namibia, with the Namibian flag, and all of those identities that are a creature of our state. So that's really where we're headed to. Right. And we're working with the various stakeholders in this. All involved, even private sector institutions are involved in this. There are some committees that have been created that are working on every pillar of nationhood.
All right, Dr. Mate, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we wish you all the best with the rest of your day.
Thank you so very much. You have a blessed day too.
All right. That was Dr. Arjun Mate, who is the Executive Director in the Ministry of Information, Communications and Technology, talking to us about the Government Information Center that is closed, a television program that will be closing off for the festivities and will only be back next year, February. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more.